Why can't I write my notes? Why is it a law that I have to use this program? Why does freedom matter in healthcare? And Dr. Jen, what do you mean by freedom? I bet there's a bunch of things that you think of initially when I say the word freedom. And it really probably depends on your context and what you're experiencing and what you're struggling with, what you're frustrated with, perhaps, some of the obstacles that you face in your daily job. There's a lot of things in our healthcare sphere that feel like they run on control and constraint and inadequacy, deficiency. And I would say that many of us feel like freedom is not the word we would use to describe that. But freedom is important in healthcare, and we also instinctively know that. Well, what is it? What am I talking about? Because I'll bet you anything that what I'm thinking and what I want to share with you is different than the kind of freedom that you're thinking of. Now, Wikipedia defines freedom in this way. Freedom is the power or the right to speak, act, and change as one wants, without hindrance or without restraint. Something is free if it can change and is not constrained to its present state. Is that how healthcare feels like to you right now? Not really. Are we feeling empowered to change? I mean, have you ever tried to get a new policy through your hospital? Like a year of committees, right? Does that feel like change is free and easily achieved? No, not at all. And I know that this is resonating with so many of you. Do you feel like you're able to advocate for the needs of your colleagues and your staffing needs and get that to be addressed in any reasonable amount of time? So does this mean that we are not free in healthcare, that we have no freedom? I think one of the biggest surprises that a lot of us faced after we entered this noble profession was how much it would ask of us, how much sacrifice it would ask of us, how much sleep it would take from us, how much responsibility it would put on us. And that felt heavy at first. And some days it still feels heavy. You get kind of some muscle to be able to learn to deal with it, and you get used to it. You develop, maybe even you'd think of it like calluses. You develop some ability and strength to handle the load. But freedom isn't really the word most of us would use for the culture of medicine right now, no matter what healthcare system you work in around the world. I want to challenge that because I would like to propose that freedom actually comes from within you and not from without. And yes, there's been a lot of research and development in our biomedical sphere that you would think would have created freedom for people. And probably in many ways, it's created freedom for patients, sometimes. But the most maddening things in healthcare seem to just be getting worse. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like things like our electronic medical record that we all love so much. I mean, I really haven't heard anyone talk about their EMR like they love it. And it's kind of insane that we can't come up with a computer program that actually serves our needs and makes our lives easier. Like, does your EMR make your life easier, or are you like me doing late night bedtime reading with your computer and charting still? Yes. Why can't I write my notes? Why is it a law that I have to use this program? Does that feel like freedom? How about coding and billing? Like, who made this system up? I would love to have a conversation with them. Would you? Yeah, that we have to remember numbers and letters to add to our memory bank of diagnoses. Got to remember the right ICD-10 code that goes with the right CPD procedure code. And God forbid that you don't put the right modifier on it because it'll get denied. And God bless my coder. Oh, bless her. Do you feel that way? That's not freedom. It's constraint. Like, is this what we went into medicine to do? Healing people with codes. What about the pre-authorizations and denials when you know what your patient needs and you order it and the insurance company asks, "Are you really sure, doctor, that that's what you want to give this patient? Are you sure? Like, can we see all your notes? Can you write some more notes justifying why this patient needs this and not the other things that our computer program says you should have done?" And no, ultimately, no, we can't have it. No, do this other thing that our computer says you should do. That doesn't feel like freedom either. So how can you claim, Dr. Kang, that freedom can still exist in our sphere? I do claim that. And I want to talk about that because the magic ingredient, of course, is going to be that the realm we have to encounter and navigate every day, this physical realm, Earth, is not the only reality that we have to live out of. And if we have actually encountered Jesus, we have the capacity to live out of another realm as well. And that's a spiritual realm. And so that realm actually, Jesus said, lives inside of you. The kingdom of heaven is here and it's within you. If you have encountered Jesus, that spiritual reality is part of you, and you bring the potential and capacity of that realm into this one. And so it's possible you may have access to freedoms that this realm doesn't have. Jesus specifically talked about freedom and specifically talked about if the Son has set you free, you will be free. Like, no duh, if you're free, you're free. But it's almost like our hearts and our brains need to have that repeated to us constantly because we're faced with a visible reality that does not look and feel free. But Jesus says to us, you actually are. If you're free, because I made you free, you're free. And Paul says in Galatians 5, verse 1, it is for freedom that you have been set free. So the purpose of being freed from darkness and from pain and from shame, all the things that Jesus has done for us when we encounter him. That has a purpose, and it's for the purpose of more freedom. Freedom is supposed to beget more freedom. And we actually can create freedom out of a source of internal freedom. So why does freedom matter in healthcare? It does. I just went through all the frustrating things that are not free, that need restoration, that need revision. I learned in a really poignant way, which is how I think God likes to teach me through the blistering encounters of life, how this actually works, and that it doesn't make natural sense, the kind of freedom that we can set into motion. I was just in the beginning phases of starting my own practice. I had been previously working with another group, and that began to fall apart. And it was a little bit of a rush for me to leave that group. And I had never been involved in the business of medicine before. Like many other doctors, we're not actually trained to do business. We're trained to do surgery and medicine. And yet, in this system in the US, we often have to figure that out. And so me and my courageous husband, we thought we could do it. And we were quite ignorant of many, many, many things. We had to learn the hard way. And as we started our practice, one of the things that you have to do is you have to get credentialed and privileged, basically get authorized and contracted with all the major insurance companies and programs so that you can then bill out your services and get paid. It's kind of an essential part of keeping your doors open. And so we were learning how to do these mounds of paperwork and electronic forms, and we thought we had done it all right. And when it came down to opening day, we still hadn't gotten our privileging activated with our state insurance program, which was really important. So our state in California uses a big program called Medi-Cal, which is basically health coverage for those who can't afford healthcare. And it's a gap coverage that provides for many people. And in my practice, I took care of many of these people in our community. And in particular, I had a whole panel of pregnant women who were in various stages of pregnancy that I had committed to deliver their babies. And they had Medi-Cal, and I did not. And my, at the time, administrator and biller looked at me and said, "Well, Dr. Kang, you're gonna have to discharge these patients from care because we aren't credentialed with Medi-Cal yet, and we aren't going to get paid for what you do, and you can't do that." And I had to kind of stare her very intensely in the face, like, this isn't happening, this isn't right, this isn't true, this isn't just, this is terrible, and I can't do that. And she said, "But you have to, like, we'll just have to wait. Like, you'll be able to take Medi-Cal eventually, but this process takes a long time, and we just didn't have enough time to get it through." And I went home and I kind of cried about it and hashed it out and prayed about it, and I just could not bring myself to walk away from my patients. It just felt so wrong. It felt like I made a commitment. I promised them, and I should be there for them. And this isn't who I am. And it looks like money is more important than my patients. But if I don't, then I'm going to be doing all this work for nothing. And this is a lot of patients. We're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. And how am I going to pay my staff? And what am I going to do? And I just felt from the Lord a strong sense of peace and resolve. And I went back to her and I said, this is going to sound crazy, but I can't do it. And we're just going to take care of these patients. They're going to come with me to the new practice. We'll just keep taking care of them just like we always do. And we won't get paid, but I can't possibly be untrue to who I am. And faithfulness is such a huge value to me. I can't do that, and I can't abandon them. So we'll just have to trust God. Like, He'll provide for us somehow, and somehow all of our bills will get paid. I know that sounds really dumb, and I'm kind of new to this, but that's what I want to do. And she said, "Okay." And I think she felt like, wow, young, naive doctor who doesn't know what she's doing. Hey, healthcare heroes, have you been impacted by this podcast? I've been working on making this content freely available to all of you through my nonprofit, and I would love for you to be able to help me in this effort. You can make a tax-deductible donation at our website, restorehealthcareproject.org. Thank you for helping me champion hope. Well, fast forward 6 months later, most of these patients we've cared for, I was still the same doctor. I still gave them everything that they deserved and still took care of them and their families, and didn't get paid. And somehow we were still getting by. We were not doing great, to be honest. Payroll was a bit tough, but we kept making it. And somewhere between 6 and 12 months after that, finally our credentialing came through and we were able to bill Medi-Cal, but we couldn't bill for what we'd lost. But there's something inside of me that just felt like, well, this will be water under the bridge at some point. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not just. This whole system is pretty whack, actually. But we gotta do this in the way that I know, which is faithfulness. A year later, out of the blue, we got a check in the mail from Medi-Cal. They had apparently done some sort of survey on our patient outcomes, and we were doing well. And apparently we qualified for a bonus. I didn't know about that either. And this is perhaps not something that happens that often, but we did. And this check was for the amount 3 times more than what we would have brought in had we been paid for all those deliveries. 3 times more. I just sat and cried that day. Like, we had endured our first year of practice really tight, barely making it, definitely not making a profit, barely keeping up with our own rent. And we played by heaven's rules. And we saw something that shouldn't be possible. And that freedom that we got because of the choices that we made has actually continued. It is the most bizarre thing. Everybody in my practice knows it. We have the most unusual favor with this insurance coverage program. When we have an issue, they help us. I know that sounds crazy in the US, but they help us. We know people by name in their buildings. When they come to inspect our office, we end up telling them testimonies of things that we've seen and great patient care outcomes and some of the innovative programs. And they take notes about the programs that we're developing because they want to encourage other practices throughout the state to do them. They give us very high marks on our evaluations and don't insist that we get annually resurveyed. They give us multiple years between these surveys, which is huge because it's a lot of work to make sure everything is up to snuff to pass these inspections. They call us and ask us how we're doing various things, how we're getting various services for our patients, and they pass that along to others. We actually have a working relationship with them, and we keep getting bonuses, and we keep getting help. And our patients who need desperately healthcare, they are getting more than they might somewhere else. Not because we're more, but because we're getting favor from a program that is unjust and very frustrating, but we do okay. It's almost like a virus started with our decision, and then it has played out since then. And I would propose that it is this way for many of the things that we face, and this is actually how freedom works when it comes from inside of you. You can actually decide to believe, I'm free. I'm free to live and to play by a different set of rules, honoring the system that I'm in, and something different could happen because different rules apply. If your spirit is free in Jesus, then you're actually free. You may still have to show up for your on-call shift, and maybe you need to do the unpleasant things. Maybe there's all sorts of reality in front of you that doesn't feel free, but your freedom can ooze out of you because it doesn't need to depend on what's around you. There are rules and forces of heaven that can transcend this realm, and they can continue on. They can actually beget more freedom. So if your realm needs freedom, your realm needs you to believe you're free. Jesus was constantly trying to teach his disciples about this, that there's these different realms, they interact, and the kingdom of God has this force and power, and it can interact with this realm. And yeah, you need to kind of know how this all works. He taught them how to pray, your kingdom come. The rules and the authorities and the forces that are in your kingdom come here. Your will be done. Like how it is that you want it to be in your realm, in the spiritual realm, God, come and do it here. And do it through us, because actually we do need our daily bread. We do still have to live by the physical rules of this realm. So definitely please provide for this realm and forgive us, because our realm is broken. We're going to need mercy. We're going to mess up. That's a reality we're living in. And actually protect us from the other realm of evil where darkness and hopelessness lives, so that that doesn't invade. Because what we want is the rules of your kingdom to have an opportunity to meet the brokenness and the need here, because we actually need that. And that freedom can come out of us. So literally, it's actually all in your head or your heart. Like your sense that you are not free and that you are oppressed and that you are hopeless in your area of expertise in the healthcare field, that's your choice to believe or not. You don't have to. You are not obligated to it. If the sun sets you free, you really are free. You really can be. I'm not promoting that you should be defiant to the rules of this realm, not at all. This is where we're placed. But what I am saying is you're not obligated to function in all the brokenness and respond to the brokenness with more brokenness. It's not You don't have to do that. Like, you don't have to be obligated to feel oppressed. You don't have to be obligated to feel hopeless for change. You don't have to be obligated to the processes that lead to burnout. It doesn't have to be the natural history of your story in healthcare that you just get more and more cynical, frustrated, exhausted, and hopeless. That is the story of many right now, but it does not have to be that way. There is freedom from that. And if by chance you find yourself already there, you don't have to stay there either. Your prognosis can change. You can get a new future as you begin to let that freedom become more of a belief and a reality in your life, in your daily life. You can choose to respond differently. I can ask for the power for change to come into this realm. I just ask. I have a good dad. My dad has all sorts of stuff in the other realm that I need and that I can give away. A freedom mindset is something that we need. It's a pattern of believing that I actually can live. I can choose to live, and I can choose the rules that I live by. Why does it matter? I mean, a freedom mindset will restore a spiritual dimension of possibility. We are lacking that massively. We are really restricted to option A, B, C, and D in our healthcare sphere. Nobody really knows how to fix some of these things. And I can't quite explain how he does it, but I have watched him do it. I have watched him change the outcomes in the future of what I'm able to do, even what I'm able to give patients in unexplainable ways. That's called favor. That's called freedom begetting freedom. The obstacles and restraints are opportunities. Like, I actually kind of get a little interested and excited now when I face a big obstacle. I think, that's interesting. I wonder if we're going to get to change that. That could be cool. I wonder if I'm going to get a solution to that. I wonder if I'm going to get a pass on that oppression. I believe that when we start to have that kind of mindset and when we pair it with hope, solutions are just magnetically drawn to you. This is not the rules of this realm, right? These are the rules, the natural laws of faith, hope, and love, the forces that exist in the realm of heaven. And they exist here too. This is across realms, God's way of bringing what needs to come to us here. You know, we are supposed to follow these standards of care. We have all these guidelines and protocols that our national organizations have developed to help keep healthcare standardized and to make sure everyone's getting good healthcare. A lot of these are very restrictive, and they randomly change all the time. So they're set in stone until they're not. And we use this mantra of like, well, we ought to make sure we're following the standard of care for you. So what if we do follow the standard of care? And when that oppression we feel it coming toward us and we don't agree with it and it's not the right thing and it feels like we're being forced to do things that restrict our freedom. What if we say, okay, got it, sure thing. I will follow those standards of care, but I'm going to carry them inside my standards of hope briefcase. And they might get transformed. I don't know how. But I know that the force of hope has so much potential for change in this realm and that God can do it. And if I get to be a part of it, that'd be awesome. But I'm going to carry this in honor, and I'm going to just carry it inside the realm I also live in, which is hope. And, I'm going to also apply them with my standards of faith gloves. And so, okay, we'll do these, but I'm going to have faith that there's more than this. What if we actually did have standards of hope that we followed? I mean, I'm not talking about a hostile takeover of religion in the healthcare sphere. Nobody wants that. But our sphere could really do with a little introduction to the goodness of Jesus. And it's not anything that can be regulated. Like, have you ever noticed that faith, hope, and love are not regulated by the FDA? They can't be denied by Blue Cross Blue Shield insurance. They don't require a pre-authorization to administer, and the National Health Service does not survey them. It's another realm, and it operates outside of ours, but fully integrates into us. This is amazing. Like, how have we not realized how free we are to use the power that we actually do have? We aren't only obligated to live and respond like the healthcare and the national culture all around us. We should, as good ambassadors, honor it. And I think of us as ambassadors of heaven because we have this other citizenship when we've encountered Jesus. And so we're actually placed into this culture to interface and to advocate for the interests of our other citizenship, while also honoring and caring for the interests of this realm. But just like ambassadors, their authority to be there comes from their home nation. They're chosen and designated and given authority to function as an ambassador. And I need us to remember that. Like, this healthcare sphere, I know we think we earned the right to be here. We did our training. We got privileged, credentialed, licensed, all of that. And it feels like a lot of performance anxiety sometimes to maintain that. But you're here not because of that. You're here because your home citizenship designated you as an ambassador. You're chosen. This is a holy calling. And therefore, you have authority given to you to be there. You're going to be able to bring stuff that this nation does not have. And you're also going to have all your needs met because the other realm will provide for you to be an ambassador. God, your dad, pays your bills. Just ask for what you need. Make decisions as if you already have it. Assume that this oppression, this obstacle can't rob you. Make decisions according to what you know from your Father, as if new rules apply. And be surprised by what you discover, that you'll actually create freedom for yourself and you'll create freedom for others beyond what you can imagine. It is actually really time to just believe. If you're free, you're free. I'm Dr. Jennifer Kang, and this is Restore Healthcare Project. Hey, fellow doctors. I want you to know I think something really exciting is happening here in Redding, California. Physicians from all over the country are moving here to be part of the community restoration that we're envisioning. We are currently actively recruiting in the specialties of obstetrics and gynecology, neurology, and primary care, although we have many needs in other areas as well. If you feel drawn to become a part of this, I invite you to connect with us at our website, www.restorehealthcareproject.org, and click on Get Connected. We have a vision to restore hope into the healthcare of a region.